Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to talk about synchronicity as understood by David Hawkins. Understanding synchronicity is part of the shift that many of us are going through. It can be viewed as a bridge between the physical and non-physical approach to interacting with the human experience, as you are learning to notice and interpret the signs in physical reality, rather than interacting with it from the level of the rational mind. Thus, synchronicity is also closely tied to intuition. Synchronicity stands out as a fascinating aspect of human experience because it invites us to look beyond the conventional frameworks of logic and probability. It describes a phenomenon where events, though seemingly unconnected in a causal sense, come together in ways that carry profound significance. These occurrences draw attention because they resonate deeply, as if reflecting a hidden order that connects our personal experiences to a larger, unseen pattern. Imagine, for example, deciding to change careers, but feeling uncertain about the choice. That same day, you overhear a stranger passionately discussing the very field you're considering. Later, you find a book on that topic left behind in a cafe. These events seem unrelated, and yet they feel deeply connected, as if confirming your decision. What makes synchronicity so captivating is how it often emerges in moments of reflection, decision, or transformation, as if the external world is responding directly to our inner state. These moments challenge the idea that life is purely mechanical or arbitrary, offering instead the possibility that reality is dynamic and responsive. Such experiences can feel like an invitation to expand our perception and to consider that reality might operate on levels that the rational mind cannot fully grasp. Synchronicity pushes us to question the rigid separation between the subjective and objective, hinting at a reality that is far more interconnected and participatory than we typically assume. It reminds us of the mysteries that remain in life, encouraging us to explore deeper truths about our connection to the world around us. In Hawkins' teachings, synchronicity emerges not as a random occurrence, but as a natural reflection of the alignment between your inner state and the flow of life. It is a manifestation of the interconnectedness that underpins all existence, revealing how your internal world resonates with the external in ways that feel purposeful and guided. Understanding synchronicity requires a shift in perspective, from viewing life as a series of separate, unrelated events to recognizing the unity that binds all things. What more and more are beginning to discern is a reality where consciousness underlies all things and everything is interconnected. This is what mystics have been saying for thousands of years, and this is what quantum physics is increasingly uncovering. Hawkins explains that synchronicity becomes more apparent as you transcend lower states of consciousness, such as fear and pride, and embrace higher states like love and peace. In these elevated states, life takes on a flow, and synchronicities appear as signposts, affirming your alignment with truth and the greater whole. Hawkins suggests that the external world reflects the energy you carry within. As you allow consciousness to expand, you allow life to unfold effortlessly. This allows events, people, and opportunities to align with your highest good. Synchronicity is not something to seek out actively. Rather, it is a byproduct of inner clarity and balance. When you release the need to control outcomes and trust the natural flow of life, synchronicity arises as a signpost of alignment and a guide showing you that you are in tune with the greater whole. In Hawkins' works, just like in many others, synchronicity and intuition are deeply interconnected, both stemming from the higher levels of consciousness that we just discussed and the dissolution of egoic interference that come with them. Intuition, as described in his works, is an innate ability that becomes more accessible as one moves into states of peace, surrender, and openness. This clarity of intuition allows for a seamless alignment with the flow of life, enabling one to perceive and act upon the interconnectedness that synchronicity represents. What this essentially is about is the letting go of the ego mind's habit of trying to control everything and comprehend the world through the materialist lenses of logic and reason alone. If you gravitate towards content of this kind, you are likely waking up to higher aspects of reality beyond that of the five senses, and learning to recognize and work with synchronicity is part of this journey. The concept of synchronicity was made known by Carl Gustav Jung, even though the concept has been around for much longer, and while there is a lot of overlap between Jung and Hawkins, and they share the fundamental perspective of synchronicity as a meaningful interplay between the inner and outer worlds, their perspectives also diverge on several points. This divergence doesn't point to an essential disagreement, but is rather about focus and emphasis. Therefore, the perspectives complement each other rather than contradict one another. Hawkins grounds synchronicity in levels of consciousness and the dissolution of the ego, while Jung views it as a psychological phenomenon tied to the collective unconscious and archetypal patterns. Jung's synchronicity describes meaningful coincidences arising from the collective unconscious during psychological transformation. His model highlights synchronicity as a symbolic bridge between the psyche and reality, often linked to dreams and archetypes during transformation. Hawkins's interpretation extends this concept to a universal spiritual framework. As we have seen, he suggests that synchronicity is not merely a psychological phenomenon, but an energetic one, deeply connected to the vibratory nature of reality. While Jung focuses on the symbolic meaning and unconscious dynamics behind synchronicity, Hawkins highlights the energetic shifts that make such events possible. For Hawkins, synchronicity is evidence of the dissolution of separation, demonstrating the interconnectedness of all things when the egoic barriers fall away. As Hawkins outlines, intuition arises from a state of inner stillness and trust. This is cultivated by letting go of resistance and negative emotions that cloud perception. When the mind is no longer dominated by fear, judgment, attachment, frustration, or similar negative states, intuition emerges as a natural guide, offering insights that align with the highest truth. In such moments, the experiences we label as synchronicity become more apparent, as intuition draws our attention to meaningful connections that might otherwise be overlooked. In this context, it's important to emphasize that when we are talking about as state of inner stillness and trust, we are talking about something very specific. It's a disposition where you meet the present moment with a relaxed openness and acceptance, and you will feel when you get it right. We talk more about this state in other Hawkins videos, and there will be links to some of them at the end screen. Synchronicity acts as an external validation of the inner wisdom provided by intuition. When you trust your intuitive insights, you align with the flow of life, and the external world begins to mirror this alignment. Events, people, and opportunities appear in ways that feel purposeful and interconnected, reinforcing the guidance of your intuition. Hawkins emphasizes that these occurrences are not random, but are reflections of a higher order that becomes accessible through the practice of surrender and the cultivation of inner awareness. Furthermore, Hawkins describes the relationship between intuition and synchronicity as part of the broader evolution of consciousness. As the ego dissolves and one transcends lower emotional states, the connection to the greater field of consciousness that we are all parts of strengthens. Intuition serves as a bridge between the personal and the universal, providing a direct link to the deeper truths that synchronicity reflects. This interconnectedness is experienced not as a series of isolated incidents, but as an ongoing flow of meaningful resonance. We've briefly touched upon the importance of surrendering attachments to specific outcomes, fears, and judgments, and we are now going to look a bit deeper at this. Resistance blocks the flow of life, creating a sense of struggle and misalignment. When you relinquish these inner obstacles, you tap into a deeper state of presence. This presence, free from the distortions of the ego, aligns you with higher energies that resonate with truth and harmony. It is in this state of surrender that synchronicity becomes a regular occurrence. Life events no longer feel disjointed, but instead unfold with a sense of purpose and coherence. Hawkins also introduces the concept of a vibratory spectrum, where different states of consciousness correspond to varying energetic frequencies. Lower states, such as shame, guilt, and anger, vibrate at lower, chaotic frequencies, attracting discordant experiences. As you elevate your consciousness to higher states like love, joy, and peace, your energy becomes more refined, drawing in experiences that reflect these qualities. This is where synchronicity thrives, as the external world mirrors the elevated state of your inner being. Another part of Hawkins' research that relates to synchronicity is the idea of attractor fields. This idea provides a powerful lens through which to understand synchronicity and how it manifests in daily life. These fields are energetic patterns or frequencies that influence the people, events, and circumstances that come into your life. These fields operate much like magnets, drawing in experiences that resonate with the dominant state of your consciousness. This means that the energy you emit, through your emotions, thoughts, and overall state of being, shapes your reality. When you are consumed by emotions like fear, anger, or pride, your energy resonates with lower frequency attractor fields. These fields are characterized by disharmony and struggle, and as a result, you may find yourself encountering conflicts, obstacles, or relationships that mirror these emotions. For instance, a mindset dominated by fear might lead to situations that reinforce feelings of insecurity or scarcity, creating a feedback loop that keeps you trapped in lower states of consciousness. On the other hand, when you elevate your consciousness to higher states like love, peace, and acceptance, you align with more harmonious and supportive attractor fields. These fields resonate with clarity, flow, and trust. As a result, your external reality begins to shift, and life feels less effortful and more guided, which leads to more synchronicities showing up in your life. These moments are evidence of your alignment with higher frequency attractor fields. For example, when you inhabit a state of trust and openness, you might unexpectedly meet someone who offers precisely the help you need, or stumble upon a chance event that aligns perfectly with your goals. These occurrences are not coincidences, but reflections of the energy you are putting out into the world. Synchronicity, then, becomes a clear sign that you are in harmony with the flow of life. The idea of attractor fields also highlights the importance of inner work with the goal of transforming your internal state. When you focus on cultivating love, forgiveness, and acceptance within yourself, the external world naturally begins to reflect these changes. This alignment with positive attractor fields creates a virtuous cycle where synchronicities serve as markers of your progress and encouragement to continue on your path of growth. In this way, synchronicities become a powerful tool for recognizing whether you are in alignment or not. Of course, you need to be present enough to recognize the synchronicities when they arrive. However, presence usually occurs more naturally when you are in higher vibrational states. The dissolution of the ego is another critical factor in fostering synchronicity, because the ego operates from a limited, fear-based perspective that seeks control and separation. According to Hawkins' teachings, the ego's primary function is to reinforce a sense of individuality and self-importance, creating a barrier between you and the greater interconnected reality. This barrier prevents you from perceiving the seamless unity of existence and aligning with the natural flow of life. When you are identified with the ego, you are identified with the automatic word machine inside your head and believe that its stories and its egoic wants, wishes, and desires have something to do with who you are, and that fulfilling them will bring you satisfaction. However, when the ego gets what it wants, it immediately starts to focus on new things that it wants, ensuring a life of constant dissatisfaction. The ego tends to view the world through a lens of duality, me versus them, gain versus loss, control versus chaos. This mindset generates resistance, as the ego constantly tries to manipulate outcomes to serve its desires or avoid perceived threats. This resistance blocks the flow of life and keeps you anchored in lower states of consciousness, where synchronicity is unlikely to occur or is easily dismissed as coincidence. The ego, relying heavily on rational thought and logical analysis, often overlooks the subtler, intuitive guidance that synchronicity stems from. However, as the ego dissolves, the boundaries between self and other begin to fade. The ego persona identity is recognized as the illusion it has always been. You start to experience yourself as part of a larger, unified whole, rather than as an isolated individual struggling to control life's outcomes. From this expanded awareness, you interact with reality from a higher place than the rational mind, a space of intuitive understanding and inner wisdom. This is the state in which synchronicity naturally arises. Interacting with reality from this higher state involves trusting in the inherent intelligence of life itself. When the need for control is relinquished, you become more attuned to the subtle cues and interconnected patterns around you. In this state, the mind quiets and intuitive insights become more prominent, guiding your actions in harmony with the unfolding of events. It bears repeating that in this context, synchronicity becomes a reflection of this alignment, a signpost that you are moving in step with the greater flow of existence. This process emphasizes the difference between the limitations of the rational mind and the expansive nature of higher consciousness. The rational mind is a valuable tool, but it is bound by linear thinking and conditioned responses. Higher consciousness, on the other hand, integrates intuition, openness, and trust, allowing you to perceive connections and patterns that the ego might dismiss. As you dissolve the ego, you transcend the rigid frameworks of logic and enter a state where synchronicity occurs naturally and consistently. What makes synchronicity so impactful is its ability to guide and reassure you. These moments often appear during times of change or uncertainty, providing a sense of direction and affirmation. They often arise as a confirmation that you are on the right track and remind you that you are supported by forces beyond the rational mind and that life is not random but purposeful. Ultimately, synchronicity reveals the illusory nature of separation. It demonstrates that the boundaries between self and other, inner and outer, are constructs of the mind. In truth, all things are interconnected, and life is a unified field of energy. When you surrender to this understanding, life transforms from a struggle for control into a harmonious dance with the universe. Synchronicity is a sign of this alignment, a reminder that you are not alone, but part of a larger, purposeful flow. In conclusion, synchronicity is not merely a phenomenon to be observed, but a reflection of the deeper truths of existence. It shows that when you align with love, peace, and surrender, life responds in kind. These meaningful coincidences are not random, but arise from living in harmony with the flow of life. By letting go of resistance and embracing the present moment, you open yourself to a world where synchronicity becomes a natural expression of your inner state. It serves as both a guide and a confirmation, pointing the way toward greater awareness, unity, and alignment with the truth of who you are. It's worth emphasizing that synchronicity reflects a profound and tangible shift within. This alignment with the flow of life is not abstract, it's a lived inner state marked by clarity, openness, and trust. As you release the inner constraints of fear, control, and rigid expectations, and instead embrace the present moment, you create space for life to unfold in its natural harmony. By surrendering the ego's need for certainty and allowing reality to simply be, synchronicities become less sporadic and more frequent, signaling your alignment with higher truths and deeper unity. These meaningful coincidences serve as reminders that life is not a random series of events, but a coherent, interconnected experience shaped by your inner state. They are invitations to trust in the process, to continue letting go, and to align with the energy of love, peace, and acceptance. Synchronicity is a language of the universe, speaking in symbols and connections that resonate with your soul's journey. The beauty of synchronicity lies in its ability to bridge the personal and the universal, guiding you toward deeper awareness and affirming that you are on the right path. By living in alignment with this flow, you step into a world where life feels purposeful, interconnected, and profoundly meaningful. It's not just about noticing these moments, it's about understanding what they reveal, that you are part of a greater whole, and when you align with its rhythm, life responds with grace and guidance. Synchronicity isn't just a phenomenon, it's an invitation to live fully in harmony with the essence of existence. Finally, you may have detected a theme in this video. As you are waking up to more and more of who you are, and the true nature of reality, which stretches unfathomably far beyond the reality of the five senses, you will be invited to more and more let go of your reliance on the rational mind. In this journey, synchronicity, along with intuition as its close counterpart, are invaluable tools to navigate the increasing complexity of reality, as well as these very special times of awakening that we are living in. You've now reached the end of the video. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for your time.